After AP number 1 Georgia beat number 3 Tennessee, and LSU shocked the world with a tantalizing overtime home win over Alabama to provide the bread of last week's stunner sandwich, Notre Dame's drilling of Clemson added the meat. What is Week 11 going to do for an encore? The college football playoff picture is far from clear, and teams such as Texas versus AP number 4 TCU, Mississippi State hosting top-ranked Georgia, and defensive-minded Missouri traveling to number 5 Tennessee with a potential UGA hangover looming could play the proverbial role of child with an open pack of crayons. Washington won't be a pushover for sleeper Oregon either. It's college football. You know there will be some surprises. But will any of the favorites go down? Or will the drama be reserved for the second tier of contenders? There aren't a lot of big-time matchups, but some wild ones are upcoming. Hello, friends, and welcome to the Week 11 edition of TXN Sports World College Football Thursday. I am your host, Anthony Florio, joined as always by good old MF Michael Fletcher. We are maybe awaiting the presence of Michael Bullock. If he comes in, we'll catch him up on what he missed. If not, then we'll probably have him back with us tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk. But without any further ado, let's get right into the slate. 21 game docket. Let's not waste too much time here. Let's get into the action. We started off with, a rare Friday night game. We got another Friday night game on our hands. It'll be tomorrow night at 9:30 kickoff over on FS1. The number 8 USC Trojans at home at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. They'll be hosting the Buffaloes of Colorado. You can find this game on FS1. Alex Faust and Petros Papadakis will have the call. USC opening up as a 34.5-point favorite. While we're on Pac-12 bloodbaths, the first Friday showdown on this list will give the nation another look at Lincoln Riley's USC Trojans. They're playing the worst team in the conference in front of a national TV audience in a standalone time slot. So look for Trojans quarterback Caleb Williams to go off. It's even possible they get Jordan Addison with the leg and Mario Williams with an undisclosed injury back. And if they do, that's going to be even more ugly for the Buffs. This is a team that fired coach Carl Durrell earlier this year, and things have not gotten any better under interim coach Mike Sanford. The USC defense has been far from stellar, but seeing Colorado is a welcome sign. This one won't be close. USC, easy win, 44-14. USC all over Colorado tomorrow night. So not much more to say here, MF. Come on in. Number 8, USC, hosting Colorado tomorrow night to open the slate of Week 11.
Yeah, and I'm totally in agreement with what you just said there, Anthony. I kind of feel like USC is just a far in away better here, and I do believe that they'll win this one, and they'll win this one going away. So I really think that USC is going to win it. I really got nothing more to add here. So yeah, let's just move right on along. So it is all yours.
All right, and we have 6 high noon games. So let's dive on in. The first noon game on Saturday. We'll start it off with Big Noon Saturday, as it will be. Excuse me. That'll feature the number 2 Ohio State Buckeyes back at home at Ohio Stadium, the Horseshoe in Columbus. They're going to be hosting the Indiana Hoosiers. Big Noon Saturday on Fox. You know who's working it as always. Gus Johnson, Joel Klatt, the All-American girl, Jenny Taft. Ohio State opening up as a 40.5-point favorite. Holy Buckeye, MF. Big favorites.
Holy Buckeye, but remember what happened last week. Remember the near scare, huh?
They got tested by Northwestern.
And that's why I say, if you're Ohio State, do not do what you did with Northwestern. You cannot afford that.
Oh, no.
Especially this close to the end. Any game from here on in.
The next two. Especially. You don't want to look past it the next 2 because, hello, Michigan, 2 weeks.
Yeah. But the thing is this. Any game from here on in, any loss, because look at who's right behind you. Mm-hmm. Look at all the teams in the 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'll even say the 8 spot, they want to see Ohio State fall. They would love to see the Buckeyes lose. Yeah, they'll win, and they'll probably win comfortably, but they got to continue to show the way that they've been playing all season long. However, they had a fourth quarter comeback against Penn State, and then they really did not look dominating against Northwestern. If they want to have the committee say that you're one of the top 4 teams and that you deserve to be in the college football playoff, then you got to start playing like you deserve to be in the college football playoff. That's all I'm saying. Florio, it's yours.
How sick are you of hearing about Ohio State's massive excuse of the wind and rain at Northwestern? The bottom line is that the Wildcats are terrible, and no matter how bad the weather was, the Buckeyes had no business winning only 21-7. But even the best teams have bad games and bumps in the road. They just hope they get those clunkers out of the way. The Hoosiers are running into a buzzsaw, heading to the shoe, when the Buckeyes are looking to regain that swagger they had before their feelings were hurt a week ago. The guess here is C.J. Stroud and his dynamic receiving core will get things churning again, and this one will be an annihilation. Ohio State wins 47-13. No, nothing more to say. Let's move on to the next matchup. Make sure I have the right order here from the high noon slate. All right. The now number 5 Tennessee Volunteers back at home at Neyland Stadium, hosting the Missouri Tigers. It's the first half of a rare doubleheader on CBS. And on the call for that one will be Tom McCarthy, Rick Neuheisel, and Cherie Burris. Tennessee opening up as a 20.5-point favorite. You got to say Tennessee bounces back. While the heartbreak the Volunteers suffered in Athens was worse than the 27-13 score indicated, they still have everything in front of them and the potential to make the college football playoff. But Tennessee has to avoid all hiccups between now and then, and it has to be impressive enough in its wins to keep the attention of the selection committee. Having to regroup against a good Missouri defense won't be easy, but the Vols will be at home, and they have quality senior leadership on both sides of the ball. The Tigers are going to try to ugly up the game, but Tennessee will win convincingly. I say Tennessee wins this one 41-20. Tennessee bounces back against Mizzou back home at Neyland Stadium. So not much more for me to say on this. MF, there was one bright spot though out of that game, out of that Tennessee-Georgia game, and that is that Tennessee-Georgia game was actually the most watched, according to it was the most watched college football game of this 2022 season. So that's the only bright spot, but I'll have more on that in a moment. But for right now, MF, Tennessee back at home. They got Mizzou coming off that disappointing loss to Georgia and a disappointing game altogether. We were expecting a 5-star shootout, but yeah, that did not work out the way we were hoping. But hey, at least it was still good enough to be the most watched game of this season. So according to the ratings, so
yeah, that will be nice up until Michigan and Ohio State goes in the big house, or I should say at the horseshoe. Then you're gonna see the ratings go through the roof, and especially if Ohio State and Michigan continues the way they've been playing. Oh my God. You thought the game of the century between Georgia and Tennessee was something. Just wait till you see the game. Ohio State and Michigan being the game of the century. Winner goes not only to the Big Ten championship, but possibly could punch their ticket into the college football playoff. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, it was fine for what it was worth. It was pretty good. But I do believe Tennessee will bounce back. They should win this game, win it comfortably, no doubt about it. Anthony, I give it to you.
And I just looked into that story there. That Tennessee Georgia game drew 13 million viewers. And on top of that, it actually, even though it was a slim margin, it actually drew a better rating than that clinching Game 6 of the World Series. How about that? Game 6 of the World Series drew 12.5 million viewers. So, but that game that we saw, that Tennessee Georgia game, drew 13 million viewers. It's the highest for now, but MF makes a great point. I mean, if Michigan and Ohio State keep doing what they're doing, that's got game of the century potential, no question. So we'll find out. We'll find out. But nothing more to say there. Let's get back into the remaining action here. My things are slowing up a little bit. All right, here we go. Now we got it. All right. And we move on to the darlings of last week, the team that that captured our hearts a week ago. The now number 7 LSU Tigers, but they got a tough one. They're on the road. They got to take on the Arkansas Razorbacks at Razorback Stadium, Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium, Fayetteville, Arkansas. This game will be over on ESPN. And on the call for that one, that will be Joe Tessitore, Greg McElroy, and Katie George. And LSU opening up as only a 3.5-point favorite. All right, MF, LSU, they shocked the world last week. You're the one who broke it when we did the NFL Saturday show. We got caught up not only with Notre Dame and Clemson, but we got caught up, and you broke the news about LSU beating Alabama. That put the show on standstill, if you will, because we couldn't believe it. But now LSU is going to go on the road to Fayetteville, Arkansas, above average team. Hello. So trap game, upset alert.
Agreed. No doubt. Trap game, upset alert, definite. I'm not even going to argue that call. And I do believe that it could happen. I do believe an upset could happen there. So yes. I think it's going to be an interesting matchup. I think it's going to be an interesting game. I think Arkansas is going to do it, though. Being there, being in that situation, it has the makings, it has the feel of an upset. So yeah, I'm going to say it. I'm going to go with Arkansas to pull the upset and win this one. So whenever they're at home, they play a lot more better. So yeah, give me Arkansas in an upset. So nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
How do you come back down from beating Alabama with a guts and glory 2-point conversion in a do or die moment in front of the home folks last weekend? LSU will have to. Coach Brian Kelly has this team playing at an extremely high level after some early season struggles that included a disappointing loss to Florida State and getting dominated by Tennessee. Now the Bayou Bengals are the SEC West favorite. This is a definite trap game where they have to come back down from the cloud, travel to play a down but dangerous Arkansas team, and find a way to pull out a win and remain the top dog in the division. I think Daniels will get it done. So I respectfully disagree with you, MF. I'm actually going to go with LSU to win this game. I'm going to say 33-24. LSU defeats Arkansas, but if Arkansas pulls the upset, I would not at all be surprised. I wouldn't. So, but we'll see what happens. So, not much more to say there. Let's move on to our next matchup. 257. All right. Next up, we have the now number 10. Actually, no, I stand corrected. 257. All right, I stand corrected. All right, that's later on. All right. And look at this. Look who's back in the poll for the first time since early in the season. The now number 20 Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and they're going to be squaring off against the Navy Midshipmen. Neutral site game, M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland. This game will be over on ABC. Dave Fleming, MF's boy Dan Orlovsky, and Chris Budden, they will have the call. Notre Dame opening up as a 15.5-point favorite. Here we go. What an odd year for Notre Dame. Who would have thought the same team that lost at home to Marshall earlier this season would knock Clemson from the ranks of the unbeaten and do so in grand style? The Fighting Irish are looking a lot better, settling in with Drew Pine at quarterback and starting to take on the mentality of head coach Marcus Freeman on defense while playing steady, sound football. Navy hasn't been good at all this year. While there probably won't be a ton of points scored in this one, most of them will come from the Irish. The 3-6 midshipmen are never easy to prepare for, but Notre Dame, I think, is too good right now. I think they got the trash play out of the way, and I think they can make a nice little late run here, and which could carry some big momentum going into next year. And if they do that, who knows? This could be a dark horse team next year. But for right now, I got Notre Dame winning this game. I say final score 33-10. Notre Dame defeats Navy at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore. So not much more to say here. MF, the Irish are back, and look what they've done over the last few weeks. I mean, yes, easy win over UNLV, but the last couple of weeks, they took down Syracuse, and then they took down Clemson, and they took them down hard. They manhandled them.
They absolutely crushed them, and none of us saw that coming. I mean, if you think about Notre Dame winning, all right, I'll give you the Notre Dame victory. But honestly, truthfully, did anybody think that Notre Dame was gonna blow out Clemson like that?
I thought it was
No.
gonna be the other way around. Honestly.
Yeah. I think quite a few people were thinking that way, but Notre Dame did what they had to do. They handled their business and they took them out in convincing fashion. And let me tell you, man, you had everybody open their eyes. Like, there wasn't one person that saw that and like, whoa, wait a minute. That's the Fighting Irish in Notre Dame? Whoa, okay. You got our attention now. So, what do I believe is going to happen? I think Notre Dame is going to keep that momentum going. I think they're going to win yet another game. I do believe they're going to win it. I don't think there's really much to argue here. And yeah, give me the Fighting Irish to win yet another one. So, nothing more to say. And Anthony, I'll give it to you.
All right. All right. Next up, we have the now number 21 Illinois Fighting Illini, as they will be at home at the University of Illinois Memorial Stadium in Champaign, Illinois. They're going to be hosting the Purdue Boilermakers, and this game will be over on ESPN2. And on the call for that one will be Jay Alter, Dustin Fox, and Lauren Sisler. Illinois opening up as a 6.5-point favorite. OMF, Illinois, I mean, they had some promise. I mean, things were looking really good, but I think in the end, they took Michigan State lightly, and they lost.
Yeah, they took them lightly, and you could tell that they blew up in their faces bad. But whenever you lose a game like that, that opens the door for something a little more better. I think you're gonna see a more focused, a more angrier Illinois squad. And whenever you get embarrassed like that, normally the next game out, it's always bad news for the team that they gotta face, because that means they're probably gonna get the wrath. And unfortunately, I think it's gonna happen here. Give me Illinois to bounce back, ride the ship, and to basically come back guns blazing, unlike the first time around. So Illinois is going to win it. I got really nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
Illinois wins, but I think it's going to be closer than you think. The Boilermakers were about as discombobulated as you'll ever see a Jeff Brom coach team in a 24-3 loss to Iowa last week. Getting beaten by Wisconsin the week before spiraled them down the Big Ten West ranks. They could catapult right back into the mix with a win over the Illini, this weekend. Was a loss to Michigan State last weekend a bump in the road to a dream season, or a sign of things to come for the 7-2 Illini? Brett Bielema has done great things this year in his second season with Illinois, but the West has been wild all year. Look for that to continue as Boilermakers quarterback Aiden O'Connell takes his self-professed struggles to heart and helps turn around the offense, maybe just enough to give Purdue a surprise win. You don't know. Illinois' defense is great, but you can't expect Coach Jeff Brown to look clueless calling plays 2 weeks in a row. Something has to give, but right now I have to go with Illinois, but I think it's going to be a closer game than you expect. I'm going to say 22-20. I say Illinois barely gets by Purdue, but if they lose to Purdue, I kind of wouldn't be surprised. So we'll see what happens. So not much more there. I think we have one more high noon game left, and yes, we do. The now number 24 Kentucky Wildcats back at home at Kroger Field in Lexington, Kentucky, hosting the Vanderbilt Commodores. This game will be over on the SEC Network. Dave Neal, Deuce McAllister, and Morgan Uber will be on the call. Kentucky opening up as an 18-point favorite. So, gotta go with Kentucky in this one. I don't see them in here. Let me find another one here. Yeah, I don't really have much of anything on this one except that, Kentucky, they started with promise and then they ran into some struggles. They lost some tough games, but I think Kentucky will bounce back here behind Will Levis and Rodriguez. I think Kentucky will get by Vanderbilt here. I say Kentucky wins 31-20. I don't have much notes on this one, so give me Kentucky 31-20. MF, a quick thought about Vandy and Kentucky?
I don't think because of the fact that I think it's just because it's Vanderbilt is just a horrible team, and I think that's why you're not finding much of a. I want to say that's why I don't think you're going to find much to worry about here. But I will say this: Kentucky was one of the darlings earlier in the year, and now all of a sudden they're not really playing to the expectation. And I do believe that give me Kentucky as well. I do believe they're going to win this one, and I do believe they're going to win this very comfortably. So, Anthony, I give it to you.
All right, MF. It's now on to the 3:30 slate, and guess what? Another 6. We got another 6-game slate in the 3:30 window. So let's dive on in here. Make sure I have everything in order here. All right, MF, and we kick off the 3:30 slate of action. Fittingly enough, with your team, the now number 3 Michigan Wolverines, back at home at Michigan Stadium in the Big House in Ann Arbor, and they're going to be hosting the Nebraska Cornhuskers. 3:30 kickoff over on ABC, and on the call for that one will be Mark Jones, Robert Griffin III, and Quint Kessenich. Michigan opening up as a 31-point favorite. All right, MF, when the first rankings came out, Michigan was on the outside looking in, but after all the craziness of last week, Michigan right back in the top 4. And could you imagine if the season ended today, they'd be playing Ohio State in the playoff? Could you imagine that?
Oh, don't even get me started.
That would be sick.
Don't even get me started.
That's our game easy. That's our game easily.
That's our game easily, but it also would trigger a lot of animosity between myself and those Ohio State fans. You thought the wars were bad. It would get even worse if that happens. There's really nothing more to say. It's gonna be wild. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I can't wait. I cannot wait to see it, man. I think it's gonna be an incredible game. I think it's gonna be an incredible battle. And I think this could go a number of directions. But whatever the case may be, whatever the battle may bring us, I kind of feel like it's gonna be insane. That's all I'm just gonna say. I think it's gonna be insane, and it's gonna be wild. So I really got nothing more to say. I think the matchup is gonna be awesome, and yeah, the question now becomes is where do we go from here?
3 games
And
left.
yeah, so
Nebraska. You got Nebraska coming in, then you got two big games. Well, one and a half really, because
yeah,
Illinois,
Illinois.
SoCo. I think you can
Illinois
take Illinois
was at if Illinois would have kept their momentum going, that could have been a trap game.
easily,
That would have been a trap game.
and then it's the
But
big one.
but because of them falling apart, with them not playing as great as they did, and on top of that, it would be senior day at the big house. No, Michigan's not losing that game.
That's next.
That's the because you know they're going to be amped for that. And then, so I mean, a number of ways can go. It's just we're gonna have to wait and see how it plays out. But yeah, um, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be wild, and we'll have to wait and how it plays out. But yeah, um, I have Michigan winning this game. They should win this pretty comfortably.
Oh yeah,
That's my personal opinion about it, and then we'll just go from there. So nothing more to say. And yeah, Anthony, it's yours.
31 point spread for Michigan. So yeah, so it's very simple, MF. You boys control your own destiny. That's all there is to it. You literally control your own destiny right now. You're in a great spot. You're at number 3. So you got Nebraska here, and then you got Senior Day with Illinois coming in next week, and then in 2 weeks, the big one, the game that you personally have every year on your calendar circled in blood red, Ohio State. So, and I know you want it even more than you did last year. So we'll get into that in a couple of weeks as part of our TXN Sports World football feast, and I'll have more details on that um, in the future. But for right now, this has been a forgettable season for the Nebraska Cornhuskers, who have turned the page from the worthless Scott Frost era and are up in the air about what's going to happen next. Nothing would salvage this season like going to the big house and knocking down Big Blue. The only problem with that is it simply isn't going to happen. Michigan is not the sexiest team out there, with all due respect. It won't wow you by posting a ton of points, and while it has playmakers on both sides of the ball, running back Blake Corum is the only one who gets much national hype. That Yeoman's mentality serves Michigan well. The Wolverines just come to the field with their lunch pail and beat you with it. It's going to happen again. 41-16, Michigan all over Nebraska. So there isn't much more to say on that one. So checking the rest of the 3:30 slate. All right. Next up. Oh, here we go. Another one of we don't have too many game of the week matchups, but here's one of them. How about, can you believe I'm saying this? The now number 9 Alabama Crimson Tide squaring off against the now number 11 Ole Miss Rebels. Vaught Hemingway Stadium, Oxford, Mississippi. The other half of the rare SEC on CBS doubleheader. You already know who's working that one. Brad Nessler, Gary Danielson, Jenny Dell. Alabama opening up as only a 12-point favorite. A little low for Bama, but all right. The Crimson Tide are used to competing for national titles. So with that out of the question, following last week's overtime loss to LSU for their second setback of the year, you've got to question how motivated they'll be. The Tide still have Bryce Young at quarterback, the nation's most talented player, and Ole Miss is terrible on defense. But the Rebels are coming off a bye week, and you know Lane Kiffin wants to join the parade of those kicking Nick Saban's team while it's down. Oxford will be rocking. And while Jackson Dart isn't on the same planet as Jaden Daniels or Hendon Hooker this year, the Ole Miss quarterback will make enough plays to let the Rebels hang around. I'm just not sure they've got enough. But the line being around 2 touchdowns in Bama's favor is a little ridiculous. So when I say Bama barely survives, they barely escape Oxford, I say they'll find a way to get it done. they'll find a way. High scoring game, close game, but I say Bama ekes it out. I'm going to say 37-34. Bama steals one in Oxford. So there isn't much more to say. MF, Bama got caught by surprise by LSU. They could have easily had, gone into another overtime, but LSU had the cojones to go for the win. Brian Kelly, and bada bing, bada boom, LSU stunned the college football world, beating Bama at Tiger Stadium. And now Bama, no rest for the weary. They've got another tough game. Here's another upset alert trap game. Ole Miss, they're not to be taken lightly either.
Yeah, they're not to be taken lightly. They're not to be taken. Uh, they got to watch themselves, man. There's a chance we could see a 3-loss Alabama season. Whoever would have thought that? I mean, it's
Not
one
me.
thing to lose 2 games under Nick Saban, but 3? Oh my God, that would be. I mean, yeah, it would be catastrophic. But I do believe Bama should find a way to win this game. It's Bama. I know a lot of people's like, oh, they're wounded, but they've risen to those occasions so many times in the past, and we've yet to see them falter at any point in the game. So I think Bama will figure it out. They'll win. It won't be those convincing wins, but I think they'll find just enough to get the job done and win this game. So I really got nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
The last time Alabama had at least 3 losses or more in a season, you got to go all the way back to 2010, if you can imagine that. 2010. That's the last time they had 3 losses in a season. And that was, ironically, under Nick Saban. So they haven't had one of those. They haven't had such a season since 2010. Every year it's been either 2 losses at the most. We've had a few 1 loss, only 1 undefeated season. That was the COVID year of 2020. But that's something. So we'll see what happens. All right. Next up, another team. Here's another one of the teams that this was the other half of that stunner sandwich from last week. First, it was Bama, getting caught by surprise against LSU. The now number 10 Clemson Tigers, they are back at home at Memorial Stadium in Death Valley, and they're going to be hosting the Louisville Cardinals. This game will be over on ESPN, 3:30 kickoff. Wes Durham, Rod Gilmore, and Tiffany Blackman will have the call. Clemson opening up as a 7-point favorite, and I'm trying to think here. Did I start the last one, MF, or did you start the last one?
You started the last one, so I gotta do this.
So you got this one. All right. Clemson, they're at home. They're hosting Louisville. They're a touchdown favorite, 7-point spread. Can Clemson bounce back after getting humiliated in South Bend?
I think they will. I think they'll bounce back. I think they'll turn it around. I think they'll win this game. Is it going to be the most perfect victory? No, but I do believe that Clemson should find a way to turn it around, and yeah, they'll win this game. So I got nothing more to add. So Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah, it's hard to believe Louisville was on the cusp of firing Coach Scott Satterfield earlier this season. While he's not out of the woods just yet, the Cardinals have stormed back to win 4 consecutive games against Virginia, Pittsburgh, Wake Forest, and James Madison, and are 6-3. This weekend could be massive for the trajectory of their season. Clemson is struggling offensively and searching for an identity after losing last week to Notre Dame in lopsided fashion. Everything says take the Tigers at home this weekend, but this feels like one of those situations where 1 loss could turn into 2. Louisville is better than you think and can score. How about the possibility of an upset? It's possible. But I got a feeling Clemson will bounce back, and it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be decisive, but I think they'll barely get by Louisville I'll say 27-23. Clemson survives Louisville. So we'll see what happens. Okay. Let's see. 3, 9, 11, 10. All right. All right, I think I got it. All right, next up, we have the now number 14 Penn State Nittany Lions back at home at Beaver Stadium in Happy Valley. They're going to be hosting the Maryland Terrapins. This game will be over on Fox. And on the call for that one will be Tim Brando and Spencer Tillman. Penn State opening up as a 10-point favorite. And had this game been a week ago, I may have picked the Terrapins to pull an upset, even though this one is in Happy Valley. But after last week's 23-10 loss to Wisconsin, in which it got pushed around, Maryland doesn't look ready to compete with the big boys in the Big Ten. And the Badgers aren't exactly in the top tier of the conference either. Penn State, on the other hand, is. The Nittany Lions are running the football much better this season, and while quarterback Sean Clifford doesn't show up in the biggest games, this is the type of matchup he will thrive in. This will be closer than some expect, but the Lions will pull away late at home. I say Penn State will eke this one out. I'll say 30-21, Penn State over Maryland. And we have a final from Thursday Night Football. The Carolina Panthers have defeated the Atlanta Falcons by a score of 25-15 on a rainy and windy night at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. Carolina improves to 3-7. Atlanta drops to 4-6. We'll have more on this Saturday night on NFL Saturday, but 25-15, Carolina defeats Atlanta, so they split the season series. So that's pretty much all there is there. So with that being said, MF, Penn State at home hosting Maryland. I got Penn State winning 30-21. What says you?
This is going to be an interesting situation. So, I mean, first off, you got to see here. Give me one moment so I can find my little notes here for this game. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Back out. Back. Sorry. Oh, too far back. Come on. College football. Got it. All right. Top 25. And this one was. We're talking about which game?
Maryland and number 14, Penn State.
Well, all right. So, again, this is another one of those situations where Maryland at the very beginning was one of those teams that had a lot of promise and everything else, but then they haven't played up to their expectations, and neither has Penn State. Penn State's done pretty well. They got a nice win over Indiana last week, and I do believe Penn State should bounce back and get a nice win here. So I think Penn State will win it. Really nothing more to add. And Anthony, it's yours.
All right, MF, and we move on to the next 3:30 matchup, which features the now number 16 North Carolina State Wolfpack at home at Carter Finley Stadium in Raleigh, hosting the Boston College Eagles. This game will be over on the ACC network with Mike Monaco, Roddy Jones, and Taylor Davis. NC State opening up as a 19-point favorite. MF, I can't believe that NC State actually knocked off Wake despite losing their star quarterback, and now they've got a gimme against the meh BC team.
Yeah, gimme is the key word there. So I do believe that NC State should win it. They should win this one pretty much going away. So yeah, Florio, I really got nothing more to add. It's all yours.
Wolfpack fans have to be feeling like they threw away a win over Syracuse in mid-October with coach Dave Doran's reluctance to play true freshman quarterback MJ Morris and going with 25-year-old Jack Chambers instead. NC State has been a much different team with Morris under center over the last 2 weeks, both wins. The Pack are not as good offensively as they were before Devin Leary went down with a torn pec, but they are much more efficient. While winning the ACC Atlantic is out of the question, having a strong season is far from a lost cause. This team could run the table, and this is a big week to get Morris more confidence against an awful BC Eagles team. NC State wins going away. My final score 36-9. NC State all over Boston College. So not much more to say there. Sleeper game of the week up next as we continue on with the 3:30 matchups. Matter of fact, I think this is the last 3:30 matchup. Yeah. And we close out the 3:30 slate with the sleeper game of the week. This is a true sleeper game. This is a true Tony special right here. So get ready for this as I look this up. All right. The now number 17 Tulane Green Wave at home at Yeoman Stadium. That's Yeoman Stadium in New Orleans, Louisiana. Yeoman Stadium, and they're going to be hosting the number 22 UCF Knights. Sleeper matchup here, no question about that. And this game will be over on ESPN2 with Anish Shroff, Brock Osweiler, and Taylor McGregor. And it is Tulane opening up with our smallest spread of the week. They're opening up as only a 1.5 point favorite. Just a 1.5 point spread for the Green Wave. But nonetheless, all right, I got it. Okay. The battle for the AAC driver's seat will be waged in New Orleans this weekend in the Group of 5 game of the season. Whether you've paid much attention to the Knights and the Green Wave or not, they both have darn good teams. They aren't 2021 Cincinnati good, but these are two quality programs that have a lot of buzz as they battle for a New Year's Day bowl. The loser is likely out of that conversation. While Tulane's Willie Fritz is the best coach you likely haven't heard of, and Tyjae Spears has been a star runner this season, UCF has the best player on the field in John Reese Plumlee, who leads the team in rushing and passing. The Knights have plenty of running back weapons too. That's why I like them to go on the road and win a very evenly matched game against Tulane. I got to go with the experience in this one. I got to go with UCF to pull the upset here. I'm going with UCF to win in what I think is going to be a very entertaining game, high-scoring game, 38-33. I got UCF stealing one in Tulane. But if Tulane were to win this game, I would not at all be surprised because of how great they've been. But I just don't like Tulane's chances, and especially as only a 1.5 point favorite. It's almost a pick 'em. So I'm going with UCF 38-33. So MF, number 17 Tulane hosting number 22 UCF. Not only the sleeper game of the week, but at this point, the sleeper game of the year.
Sleeper game of the year, and I got to go with UCF as well. I do believe UCF is going to get the job done. I think they're close enough that I think they're going to win this matchup. So UCF, no doubt. Florio, go.
All right, MF. And I believe we are now into the primetime slate of things. Yes, we are. We have three 7 o'clock kickoffs here. And we started off with, once again, back at number 1. All is right with the world. They're back at number 1. Your reigning, defending college football playoff national champion, made in Georgia Bulldogs. And they're going to be on the road against the Mississippi State Bulldogs. As I look this up quick, Davis, and it's the number 1 made in Georgia Bulldogs squaring off against the Mississippi State Bulldogs at Davis Wade Stadium in Starkville, Mississippi. This game will be over on ESPN. And on the call for that one, that will be Sean McDonough, Todd Blackledge, and Molly McGrath. Georgia opening up as a 16.5 point favorite. MF, I believe we start with you on this one. Georgia back in the driver's seat. They're number one once again after they took care of Tennessee. And they go on the road against a 6-3 Mississippi State team in Starkville. Would you consider this an upset alert trap game or not really?
I don't really think so because of the fact that I do believe that Georgia knows what they need to do. I kind of feel like there's no game that really scared them. They went up against Tennessee, which I thought was their biggest hurdle yet, and they came out of it looking like the national champions. So I think their biggest test is literally going to come down to the SEC championship game now. I don't think there is much of a threat. I think Georgia is going to win this one pretty handily. And I think, like I said, I think their biggest test remaining is going to be who comes out of the SEC championship game. And that's going to be their biggest test. So, no, Georgia should win this one. Win this one somewhat comfortably. Florio, it's yours.
Georgia geared up a week ago and played a defensive game for the ages against Tennessee. Now it has to go to Starkville to play a completely different type of pass-happy attack. Coach Mike Leach's team hasn't been as sharp recently as it started, and nobody is giving Mississippi State much of a chance to pull this shocker, even at home. Will Rogers is going to throw a lot of passes, but this probably is going to go much the same way the Bulldogs game against Alabama did. Kirby Smart's dogs aren't going to wow you with beauty, but Stetson Bennett, Brock Bowers, and a cast of no-name offensive players get the job done. They're going to do it again Saturday night in an ugly win. I say Georgia wins 33-13. So give me Maine and Georgia over Mississippi State. Next up, another one of our games of the week. We don't have many, but this is another one of the few that we have right here. The now number 6 Oregon Ducks back at home at Autzen Stadium in Eugene, Oregon. They're going to be hosting the now number 25 Washington Huskies. And this one will be over on Fox. Jason Benetti, Brock Hurd, and Allison Williams will be on the call. Oregon opening up as a 13-point favorite. So not much to say here. I see this being a shootout despite how well the Ducks are playing. When the Huskies have it moving in the right direction, Washington can put up points too. This may be a better ball game than many are giving it credit for, especially considering the rivalry they have. Ducks quarterback Bo Nix is playing at an extremely high level and may be the dark horse to win the Heisman Trophy after pedestrian performances from Hendon Hooker, CJ Stroud, and Bryce Young a week ago. What a first season it's been for head coach Dan Lanning and offensive coordinator Kenny Dillingham, and they'll keep it rolling this weekend, but it will not be easy by any stretch. Oregon survives. My final score, I'm going to say 33-27. Oregon gets by Washington, keeps their slim playoff hopes alive. And and we keep saying this about Oregon every week. As long as they keep winning, we're going to keep saying this. Opening week, they got manhandled by Georgia. Brutal game. But ever since then, Oregon hasn't lost. They've won every game. And MF, they're right there. They're on the outside looking in. They're in that 5-6 hole. So they're almost there. They just need a little help. So, but Washington not going to be easy. But I think Oregon wins 33-27.
Oregon would have to win out, win the Pac-10, the Pac-12 championship. Then they would need, well, they'll get some help because of the fact that because Michigan or Ohio State has to lose. One of them has to lose. So that's one factor. But the other factor, they would need TCU to lose somewhere along the way. Either Big 12 championship or in one of the final games. If they get that, they might be able to leapfrog everybody and get in the Final Four. Because obviously you're going to have Georgia at 1. You're going to have the Big Ten champion, whoever that is, either Michigan or Ohio State at 2. Then 3, you kind of have to feel like that would be the moment. Because right now, the way I really feel about it is if they win out, they would have an opportunity because of the fact that A, Tennessee already lost. And they won't be able to play for their conference championship. Georgia's got that locked. So, would you put a team who did not win a conference title, who has one loss to their record, would you put them over where Oregon, if they play it right, if they run the table, will have the Big 12, the Pac 12 title, and their only loss was to Georgia? If you think about it, I think all that Oregon needs to do is run the table, and then obviously the loser of Ohio State and Michigan will get knocked out. As long as TCU continues their run and they don't get tripped up, they would be 3. I actually see a path for Oregon to get through and get the final spot. But they will have to win out. You cannot lose a game. And I think they get it. So, yeah, Oregon wins. We'll see how it plays out. It'll be tight, but there's really nothing more to add. Anthony, it's yours.
Okay. Let's see. All right. That was Oregon. All right. One last 7 o'clock game here, and this one will be over on FS1, as it will feature the now number 19 Kansas State Wildcats on the road against the Baylor Bears. Ooh, that's going to be a tough one. At McLean Stadium in Waco, Texas. This will be over on FS1. Adam Alexander and Devin Gardner will be on the call. Baylor opening up as a 2.5-point favorite. All right, MF. Now this for sure. Upset alert, trap game for K-State.
Not only that, but they're also coming off a loss over Texas. And a lot of people are like, whoa, wait a minute, hold on. This was not supposed to happen. Yeah, it wasn't supposed to happen, but it did. So, I mean, there's really nothing more for us to say here. So, I think it is going to be Baylor. I think they're going to win this game. I really got nothing more to add here. So, give me Baylor, and Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah. Let me just find it here. Okay. All right. Even with quarterback issues the last few games amid injury trouble for Adrian Martinez, Kansas State has maintained its edge, staying competitive during a grueling stretch. However, close losses to TCU and Texas, sandwiched around a 48-0 domination of Oklahoma State, has been tough to stomach. Coach Chris Kleeman's team is still having a strong year, and Baylor has reeled off 3 straight wins over Kansas, Texas Tech, and Oklahoma. So the Bears are back in the Big 12 mix as well. This will be a very good game at McLean Stadium between a pair of 6-3 teams. The Wildcats defense is going to force some key turnovers, and the Bears will have a hard time keeping pace in what could shape up for a big mover and shaker game in the Big 12. So I'm actually going to go with Kansas State to win this game. I think K-State can steal this one. I'm going to say final score 31-28. Kansas State over Baylor. So not much more for me to say on that one. I believe now we move on to our 7:30 kickoffs. And here's another game of the week. Heck, you can make an argument for this to be the game of the week right here if you wanted to. Huge game in the Big 12. Major college football playoff implications for one. The other, looking to play spoiler. But it will be the number 4 TCU Horned Frogs on the road at the number 18 Texas Longhorns. Darrell K. Royal Memorial Stadium, Austin, Texas. The ABC Saturday night game of the week. And they're back. Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, Holly Rowe in their traditional Saturday night on ABC slot. Texas is opening up as a 7-point favorite here. So here we go. This is the biggest showdown of the weekend, and it's one that will hold the eyes of fans around the nation. Time after time, TCU has shown it's for real in Coach Sonny Dykes' first season. Like the Vols, the Horned Frogs have gotten a sterling performance from a senior quarterback, Max Duggan, who has thrived under the new regime. And while they've had to come from behind far too often, they've gotten the job done. This weekend is going to be tough in Austin. Quinn Ewers is flinging the ball around, and running back Bijan Robinson is running the ball like one of the top backs in the country. So Texas is a 7-point favorite. It's the more talented team. But are the Longhorns better? We'll find out. And you know what? I think Texas pulls the upset here. I think they can do it. I'm going to say final score 37-35. Texas upsets TCU and spoils TCU's college football playoff dreams. But if TCU wins, I would not be surprised. I wouldn't. But I just got this feeling about Texas, especially with the game being in Texas. So, or Austin, rather. If it was at TCU, I'd go with TCU all day. But with this being at in Austin, I got to give a slight edge to the Horns. 37-35. So, MF, does Texas spoil TCU's dreams, or does TCU continue this dream season?
Wow, I kind of feel like this is TCU's year, man. I think they're gonna get it. I think they're gonna make it. I just don't see the upset. So I'm gonna go with TCU to win it. And yeah, I really got nothing more to add. So Anthony, it's yours.
All right. Got a few more games left here. The other 7:30 kickoff. It features the number 15 North Carolina Tar Heels. They're on the road against the Wake Forest Demon Deacons at Truist Field in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. This game will be over on ESPN2. Clay Matvick, Rocky Boyman, and Don Davenport will be on the call. Wake Forest opening up as a 4-point favorite. Again, MF, theme of this week and this show so far, trap games and upset alerts. I think Carolina's on the same thing.
In one way, yes. In another way, no. Look, I know Wake Forest has been a pretty good team this year, and you know you gotta not disrespect them, but they're coming off a 2-game losing streak. And North Carolina has been one of the most consistent teams in the ACC. 5 in a row lately. I'm sorry, I don't see it. I think Wake is trending downward. I think North Carolina's on the rise. And I think the Tar Heels is finally finding their track at the best moment right now. They're playing the best college football for when it matters the most at the end. North Carolina continues their run, 6 in a row. They win on Saturday. Florio, it's yours.
I'm not sure there are enough backup light bulbs for the scoreboard in Winston-Salem to keep up with the number of points in this game. The over-under is around 76.5 points per DraftKings, and that seems low. While the Demon Deacons have struggled in back-to-back losses to Louisville and NC State, scoring just 42 total points and turning the ball over 11 times, they are better than that. North Carolina has a top 10 scoring offense, and the Tar Heels are in firm control of the ACC Coastal, but neither one of these teams play a lick of defense. This will be a barn burner, but I agree with MF. Give me Drake May in the Heels. I say North Carolina wins it. Highest scoring game of the week. 48-44. North Carolina outlasts Wake Forest. So not much more to say there. We have 3 games left, and I think we've covered all these. Yes, we have. All right, 3 games left, and we have one 8 o'clock kickoff, as it will feature big game here in the ACC, as it will feature the now, hey, look who's back in the poll. We talked about Notre Dame being back in the poll. How about Florida State being back in the poll? The now number 23, Florida State Seminoles, but they are on the road against the Syracuse Orange from the Carrier Dome in Syracuse. ACC Network, Dave O'Brien, Tim Hasselbeck, and Kelsey Riggs on the call. Florida State opening up as a 7-point favorite. And yeah, so as I find it in my set here. All right. These teams were heading in opposite ACC directions just 3 weeks ago. At that time, the Seminoles had endured their third consecutive loss. Wake Forest, NC State, and Clemson. And Syracuse was on top of the world. Now it's the Orange, who have crashed back to earth after a 6-0 start. Their 3-game losing streak to Clemson, Notre Dame, and Pittsburgh revealed the stark reality that this is a team with deficiencies on both sides of the ball. The Noles have beaten 2 bad teams in a row to climb back into the rankings, and they'll make it 3 with a big road win to keep Cuse reeling. I'm going to say Florida State actually steals one in the Carrier Dome. Final score for me, 31-23. Give me Florida State to knock off Syracuse and continue the free fall of the Orange. And MF, oh, how the mighty have fallen when it comes to Syracuse. What started as a promising dream season, oh boy, they fell back down to reality. Three in a row. I hear 4.
4 in a row, definitely. And Florida State, oh boy, they put a whooping on Miami. And whoa, I mean, if you were a Miami Hurricane fan, you were looking for the nearest exit after that thrashing.
No wide right or wide left this time.
Oh no, I mean that was horrible. It even makes people question if Marco Cristobal was even the right coach for that team. Like, that is bad what happened. Florida State, I think they've proven a lot of people, they've proven the naysayers wrong. And I think it's going to be Florida State winning, and they're going to win this one pretty comfortably. So, yeah, Florida, it's yours.
All right, 2 games left. And both of these games, your favorite, MF, Pac-12 After Dark. Here we go. And the network that originated it, that's ESPN, they have this next matchup. It's a 10 o'clock kickoff. It features the number 13 Utah Utes at home at Rice-Eccles Stadium in Salt Lake City. And they're going to be hosting the Stanford Cardinal. Dave Patch, Dusty Dvoracek, and Tom Luginbill will be on the call for ESPN. Utah opening up as a 24-point favorite. All right, MF, the first of 2 Pac-12 After Dark games to close out Week 11. Number 13, Utah hosting Stanford.
Yeah, this should be a pretty comfortable win for Utah. Stanford hasn't really played that great in the last few weeks. Actually lost 2 in a row and actually got thrashed by Washington State. So, yeah, and Utah coming off 3 straight wins, including a domination over Arizona. I think Utah should be safely into the winner circle on this one. So give me Utah to win, and Florida, go ahead. It's yours.
The injury bug has hit the Utes hard all year, but they still find themselves right in the Pac-12 mix with a 5-1 conference record and a 7-2 overall record. Quarterback Cameron Rising played last weekend against Arizona, so he's back and healthy after a 1-game absence, while Jalen Glover and Jaquindon Jackson have been shouldering the load at running back. Tavion Thomas also saw action a week ago against the Wildcats. Could he be on his way to getting more in the running back rotation? It won't matter this week against the Cardinal. You have to wonder if Coach David Shaw's hot seat is the next to tip over, as Stanford isn't much of a threat to put up a fight this week. It may get ugly. Utah, easy win, 41-10. Utah all over Stanford. Final game of the week, the other Pac-12 After Dark game. It's not often that Fox has a late night game, but they got one here, as it will feature the number 12 UCLA Bruins hosting the Arizona Wildcats. 10:30 kickoff over on Fox, and it'll be Noah Eagle and Mark Helfrich on the call. UCLA opening up as a 20-point favorite. I mean, it's got to be UCLA. All right. Speaking of struggling defenses, ladies and gentlemen, let us present the Arizona Wildcats. In 4 consecutive losses to Oregon, Washington, USC, and Utah, they've allowed an average of 47 points. Now they continue their grueling gauntlet, completing the run through the conference's 5 best teams by traveling to the Rose Bowl in Pasadena to play the UCLA Bruins. It will not go well. While Arizona has some exciting young talent on offense, it simply doesn't have the horses yet to hang with the top teams defensively. Jed Fish has things moving in the right direction, but this will continue an ugly stretch that will show the defense is still 2 to 3 years away from competing. Bruins quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson and company are going to go off. UCLA, well, it'll be an ugly game, a little on the high scoring side, but I think UCLA will get by Arizona here. 48-31, UCLA all over Arizona in the Rose Bowl. So not much more to say here. MF, Arizona, UCLA to close out Week 11.
I think this will be UCLA. This the way they've been playing, they look like they're on a mission. UCLA actually has an outside shot at New Year's 6, and they right now, if everything holds the way it does, UCLA is trying to keep pace with USC because as of now, if the New Year's 6 holds, even though UCLA won't get there, if USC falters at some point, USC could get the UCLA could sneak in, and whoever that battle may be, think about this. Right now, if everything holds, you're looking at Michigan versus either USC or UCLA at the granddaddy of them all, the Rose Bowl. Think about that.
Who? UCLA and USC?
Either UCLA or USC are fighting right now for a spot at the Rose Bowl, and they might face off with Michigan.
Wow. Especially if it's Michigan and SC.
Oh,
that's old school. That's old school, baby. That's old school.
Imagine that on New Year's Day, Michigan and I think it'll be on January 2nd because January I think 2nd. The NFL has New Year's locked up.
NFL on New Year's Day, yes.
Yeah. So think about that. January 2, Michigan and USC, or Michigan versus UCLA at the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all. That might be the best game of the New Year's 6. I mean, that might be the best game out of the New Year's 6, minus the playoff matchups
on New Year's Eve, and those take place on New Year's Eve.
So. Yep.
Wow, Michigan and SC. Oof.
Yeah, because right now that's what we're looking at.
Boy, howdy, that would. Oof. That were. Do you have any idea how many memories will be conjured up if that happens?
Man,
of yesteryear?
I mean, all you just have to say is USC and Michigan. I mean, two of the greatest. They're two of the Mount Rushmores of college football.
Absolutely.
They are. They're two of the Mount Rushmores in college football. You can say Notre Dame. You can say Alabama. You can say Michigan. You can say USC. Those are probably the top 4 right now in college football history.
No arguments here.
Now, you can make an argument, and I know there's going to be a lot of people going to be like, wait a minute, what about Oklahoma? Wait a minute, what about this other team? You can make arguments for them, but which 4 are the most recognizable in all of college football right now? If you talk about in the history of the game,
based on
who are the most recognizable in college football? Michigan, USC, Notre Dame, and Alabama. Those are the core 4.
Maybe the 4 most successful in terms of national titles.
Yeah. And of name recognition.
Oh, yes.
Those are the 4 that everybody links to in that area. But The next crop, obviously, Ohio State, Oklahoma. You could say maybe Texas. You could put them in there, maybe. And then the fourth, maybe because of their success within the last 10 years, Clemson. I'm just saying that because of the years of Dabo Sweeney, and you've seen what Clemson has done in those years.
And let's not forget Georgia either.
And don't forget Georgia. No, Georgia definitely. But Georgia needs to do more in order to start putting their names into that mix. Because remember, the only other time they won the national championship was 1980 until they won last year.
That's right.
So I don't think we could put them on that list yet, but it definitely would be considerable. But yeah, nothing more to say. Let's just call it a night. This was a good one.
And you got UCLA winning against Arizona?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. All right. So that will put the bow on this week 11 edition of TXN Sports World College Football Thursday. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. We'll be back with you again tomorrow night, 11 p.m., immediately following AEW Rampage over on MF's channel, BraceFan 95, for another edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk, as we will review Friday Night SmackDown, including that highly anticipated, undisputed tag team title matchup featuring the Usos and the New Day. History on the line for both teams. Either New Day will keep their record and win the titles, or the Usos will be the new record holders. And just added today, a 6-pack challenge to determine the number one contender for Ronda Rousey in the SmackDown Women's Championship. Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Xia Li, Lacey Evans, and along, I believe, with, I forgot who the other two, oh yeah, Shotzi, and I can't remember who the last one was, but there's a 6-pack challenge nonetheless, and the winner gets the next shot at Ronda and the SmackDown Women's Championship. So those are the big main events for SmackDown. Of course, we also have AEW Rampage. We'll get into that as well. That's tomorrow night. Saturday night, 10:30, right back here on the Tone 25, Week 10 edition of NFL Saturday, as we will have we will recap the Falcons and the Panthers tonight's game, and we'll get into all the remaining action of Week 10. The headline game, without question, the Minnesota Vikings and the Buffalo Bills, but there is a serious question mark. JA-17, is he going to play? He's hurt. I'm scared. Enough said. And then from there, Monday night, we do it all again. We got Ridiculously Raw with right back here on the Tone 25, as we will have Monday Night Raw as we continue on the road to the Survivor Series War Games, Impact, and of course my Tony's take on Impact Wrestling and NXT Level Up. Wednesday Night Madness with MF, as we will preview, we'll have our reviews of NXT and AEW Dynamite, and preview next Thursday Night Football's matchup, which I believe is going to be a far better game, hopefully. The Tennessee Titans and the Green Bay Packers should be a good one there. And then next week on College Football Thursday, the Week 12 edition, we got some good ones next week. How about Miami and Clemson? How about Ohio State and Maryland in a sleeper matchup? Texas and Kansas. Of course, we talked about it. Illinois and Michigan. Let's not forget about them. But we got two huge main events in the Pac-12. MF, listen to this. Next week, double main event, both out of the 12. Utah and Oregon, and USC and UCLA in the Rose Bowl. And then we got we got Ole Miss against Arkansas. We got TCU and Baylor, Tennessee and South Carolina. Only for historical purposes, I mentioned Boston College and Notre Dame. And we also have Georgia against Kentucky. So we got some great ones next week. I can't wait to get into it as part of Week 12 of College Football Thursday. Season finale in only a couple of weeks. So before we move the NFL show to Thursday. So So that's it. So until tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk, hosted by MF on Braves Fan 95, Anthony Florio here for good old MF Michael Fletcher, and in spirit, Michael Bullock, and of course, always and forever, the First Lady, Dee Dee Woodson. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw the Porch and Forest style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Friday. And until tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk, you've been watching the Week 11 edition of TXN Sports World College Football Thursday right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com. For everybody who has been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long, and bye, everybody, bye.